Alright guys, we're back with some videos just showing you some tips on flexibility, strength conditioning, injury prevention, gymnastics technique, and something I think causes a lot of back pain, unfortunately, is when athletes are doing jumps, leaps, or any other type of drill for bars, and they're using their back way more than their actual hip muscles, right? So people have a lot of problems with the end range of leaps, they have problems with the end range of sprinting, they have issues with opening their hips very aggressively off the floor to get whip action for tumbling or for getting back to the table for your chankos. So a lot of times this happens when the end motion of your hips is not strong enough and you're using your back, right? So athletes hit the board for your chankos and they're not really tight, they can't open their hips and they buckle into their knees and it causes this big Cheerio of a back hamstring or whatever it is. So you have to make sure that when you're doing physical prep, you're making sure that the actual hip muscle is getting just as much work as the lower back. And probably the biggest error that I see this happens with is just basic leap drills or just basic hip strengthening drills. So most people will do hands and knees position for their strength and they'll be working on leaps and they'll be allowing their back leg to kick very high, but go ahead. But you see how much motion is coming from her back when she does this, right? Like she is getting a little bit of hip development, but even if she tried her hardest to not use her back, it's gonna arch more because she's naturally flexible there. So what we need to do is set up a lot of drills that force an athlete to not use their back. And the way we do that is by having them curl up in a ball so they only use their hip. And you saw this in another video is that we did lumbar locked hip motion to work on glute strength. We do that a lot with weighted hip lifts. We also do that with a lot of other exercises for like kettlebell swings. But for leaping and jumping, to get the end range of motion to be stronger, you want to have somebody flip this around on the edge of a block and they want to curl up into a little ball. So when Heather starts like this, her knee is blocking her rib from doing any motion. And so now when she just does some lift-off drills, it's not as impressive. It's much smaller of a motion, but she's only using her hip, right? And this is much, much harder to do. You can do it to the back, to the side, to whatever it is. So we have them work on this first, and then obviously we want this to be more dynamic, right? So we would do some needle kicks, but the other way that we do this is we just make the block a little bit higher. So now she's not gonna hit her foot on the ground when she does anything. So she curls up in a ball, and now she can hang her leg all the way down. Now she can actually kick pretty hard, right? So now we're looking at like true 160+ degree leaps and things like that. So this is probably gonna be much better because she's not using anything in her back. And usually athletes feel quite a bit better. They're not cranking on their lower back and they don't feel like they have as much issues with it.